Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's five-game slate. Five-game slate, but a little bit smaller on the injury reporting side of things because we have some teams on back-to-backs not filed yet. We'll cover what we consider are likely to see on those injury reports tonight. Mike, how are you on this this Valentine's Day?
Doing good. Listening to some pressers as usual. Got all those done literally just in time to get a bet in. But yeah, it's I'm getting trolled for Dame planting in the chat, which I guess is either good or bad. But yeah, I wish I jammed. I mean, that was just such a mismatch, man. I only put like a half unit on the Blazers, but yeah, just a total beatdown. They're on again today. We'll talk more about them. We've got some intel on Grant's availability and starting lineups. So yeah, but a lot of Boston stuff. So we'll talk about a lot of iterations that could be happening there. They're on a back-to-back as well, so really important to note.
Yep. As I've alluded to earlier in this week, the schedule is very condensed. It's limping towards the All-Star break. There's going to be more players sitting than on questionable tags than I think you might normally see, just because I think guys are going to be like, hey, I could use the extra time. So let's get into it. There are plenty of teams on a back-to-back tonight. Orlando's on the back end of a back-to-back. Golden State on the back end of a back-to-back. Washington and Portland on the back end of a back-to-back. Front end of a back-to-back. Boston, and I think that's it. I think the other teams don't play Wednesday. So yeah, let's start with Boston. Malcolm Brogdon back in the mix. Al Horford questionable. Grant Williams listed available now. Time Lord Robert Williams listed questionable. No Jason Tatum, no Jaylen Brown, no Marcus Smart. So very shorthanded against Milwaukee tonight, as you alluded to, on the front end of a back-to-back. They play at home tomorrow night against Detroit. What are your expectations for what we see from Boston tonight?
So the bigs, right? Probably one today, one tomorrow, right? We don't know which one. I think that I'd rather sit Time Lord tomorrow and have a little bit more offense, passing without Tatum today. Maybe Tatum can go back tomorrow. So that would be my lean. They've got Brogdon. We saw him come out of nowhere, and not out of nowhere, but got the probable miss the game over the weekend, which led to just a ton of Derek White. We saw the 10 assists. Player of the week, Derek White. Completely astounding. Those 10 assists were not fake. He had 9 potential assists, so he'll be looking at a huge role. Even with Brogdon, I still think he's going to handle a ton. I don't think they're going to play Brogdon too many minutes in a back-to-back. They could sit him tomorrow against Detroit. But we've seen Sam Hauser kind of run away with it. Most of the Jaylen Brown minutes, really confident in him. Really good quotes from Joe Mazzulla. And they're probably going to have to start Pritchard, right? They really like Brogdon off the bench. They need a little bit more ball handling. Pritchard's been pretty good defensively for them on ball. So, I think that makes a ton of sense. So would probably expect the starting lineup of Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Grant Williams, and one of the bigs. Again, we don't know which one, but I would lean it being Horford today. Muscala also a candidate to start. We've seen him, play some four, space the floor. He's getting a pretty good amount of shots up. Team seems to really like him. He's played, a little bit of four earlier in his career. It's almost been all five now. It's like the post defender. But they've been using him there in that role. Would expect him to play, pretty decent minutes today. And maybe they sit them both out today. Maybe they're okay. Let's just sit everyone today. Would be a little bit unlikely. But maybe they just pack it in against Milwaukee and let Milwaukee have this one. But there's a lot of ways it can go. But I think all those guys could definitely benefit.
Muscala going to have to play some four, I think, with how thin they are. I mean, they've got Blake Griffin. They've got Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett's primarily going to be 5, even though he can stretch it out a little bit as well. But you look at the bench in this scenario, if we assume one of the bigs unable to go tonight, you've got a bench then potentially of Cornett, Blake Griffin, Mike Muscala, Kabengele. These are all forward centers. There's no wing guards, guys. It's J.D. Davidson. He was basically the only wing guard. So the minutes could get really, really heavy for the main Boston guys and be a little blowout proof potentially, unless there's other names that I'm missing that would be available. Are there any other names that I'm missing that would potentially be available for Boston?
Think so. No.
Yeah.
So they play pretty big.
Will be pretty big. Makes sense against Milwaukee. But yeah, it's probably going to be non-competitive, and it'll be really interesting to see what like a blowout lineup would probably look like in this spot. It would probably be Pritchard, Davidson. Hauser might still be out there in a blowout lineup, potentially. And then Cobb and Gelly and probably Muscala or Cornette.
Blake.
Blake,
or
maybe.
Cornette. Yeah, I think Cornette would be in there for sure.
They generally just try not to. The vets like Blake generally don't play those situations. So
he's played garbage before, though.
Yeah, so it could be like Pritchard and Hauser could just play a ton, regardless of game result here. So something to note there. Okay, let's move to the Magic, who are also on the second night of back-to-back. Cole Anthony sat last night. He's listed questionable tonight. Jonathan Isaac has already been ruled out on the back end of a back-to-back, which is not super surprising. Only surprise was that they didn't announce that before when they filed last night. What are your thoughts on Cole Anthony's availability tonight and how the Magic will look in the absence of Jonathan Isaac?
Yeah, cancel the intern for not putting Jonathan Isaac on the injury report last night when we were like, what the hell? He's not on the injury report. But out of nowhere, didn't play. Wasn't on the injury report. We saw him miss, and we saw Caleb Houston pick up, some wing minutes. Suggs a little bit more leash, but obviously the headline was Markelle Fultz just going off, 18, 10, and 9. Almost puts up a triple-double. Big minutes. Pushed the pace. Was really, really, arguably his best game of the season. So he would benefit again with big minutes. He doesn't have a minutes cap anymore. We've seen the minutes be a little bit short on the court over the course of the season for a starting point guard. He doesn't hit 30 all the time, but would probably get it here. Matchup against Toronto is certainly a tough one. We've seen ball handlers struggle against them, but he would definitely benefit. I mentioned Houston, Suggs, a little bit more leash, a little bit more ball handling as well to Franz, Paolo, and those guys. But Fultz would be, even in bad matchup, would be interesting. Gary Harris also benefited a little bit because he wasn't competing quite as much with Suggs. Suggs was kind of moving into the Cole role. So all those guys kind of benefit a little bit. But the only really, I think, big takeaway, a small slate, but Fultz having a higher minute ceiling is kind of a big deal.
And then Isaac's role would get filled by Chuma Okeke, is what you think? Or
I
do they
think that's right.
Or do they just condense it and go back to 9?
Yeah, I think they'd want to get Chuma in, off the injury report. I think that they'll probably, switch him in, kind of similar positionally, right? 3-4 can guard in space. So I think that makes sense to kind of just slot him into those minutes. Wouldn't play him a lot.
Okay. Let's move to the Raptors. Questionable tags on Precious Achiuwa and Gary Trent. Gary Trent missed last game and they went super, super big in that game. Pascal Siakam was like the 2 or the 3. Scotty Barnes was the 2 or the 3. They rolled out a lineup that started. It was Achiuwa and Pirtle, right? And Pirtle ended up playing 25 minutes in that game. What are your expectations here on Precious or on Trent? Any news that suggests availability for either? And how do you think we see Toronto line up tonight?
Yeah, Gary Trent out of nowhere on Sunday afternoon gets ruled out with a calf. He's had the injury before. Just sit him out. I think they would feel comfortable sitting him out through the break, given his injury history there. So I'm expecting the same starting lineup again. And we saw Precious is really good in space, and he actually guarded Boyan a decent bit on Sunday. So they're comfortable with him being a kind of a wing defender in that role. So I think that they're okay playing them pretty solid minutes. And I wouldn't be totally shocked if Trent is available and comes up the bench. Sounds pretty minor on Precious. Didn't get much detail on that. Should note Nick Nurse didn't coach over the weekend. It was AJ Griffin's dad, who kind of had the head coaching duty. Didn't get too much. Besides that note on they trust Precious to be a space defender and all that. So definitely comfortable playing him. We saw a decent amount of touches for Pirtle. This certainly didn't affect Fred VanVleet, who just completely went ham in one of the best matchups. But expecting a similar rotation if Precious if they're both out, or if obviously if Precious out, I would assume they would start Trent. If they're both out, then I guess it would be Wancho. They've kind of gone that route before, but I think Precious is going to give it a go.
Shout out to Ryan Schwepfinger on our NBA team who called out the Fred VanVleet points plus assists specialty prop relative to the Chiefs team total. A little bit of a sweat there at the end, surprisingly. But, we get the 43 combined points for assists for Van Vliet on the Super Bowl special. All right, let's move to the Bucks, who have a couple probable tags. Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of them. We have noted before with Bucks probable tags, always to be a little bit concerned. He's been playing through them of late. What are your thoughts on the availability for Giannis and Pat Connaughton, who's also listed probable tonight?
Yeah, it should be good. We talked about this a lot. He's been playing pretty steady minutes. Usage has been awesome. Roll's been great. So yeah, not too much to add. National TV game. Maybe if Boston sits everyone out, they're not on a back-to-back. They play Thursday. Yeah, so they're not on a back-to-back.
Against the Bulls. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, should be good. But it's the first game of the day, so we'll definitely have that information.
Yeah. That's the silver lining there. All right, Kings, they are playing the Suns tonight. Malik Monk has been ruled out with that right ankle sprain. Terrence Davis seems like the most likely candidate to fill Malik Monk's role. What are your thoughts there for the Kings?
Yeah, TD2, awesome game over the weekend. Scores 22. I think it's 17 in the first half or something outrageous. But yeah, he should pick up most of that role. Certainly a little bit more room for Kevin Huerter. We saw his minutes finally get up there. Keegan Murray didn't have a great game, still got pretty solid minutes because Terrence Davis was cooking, but would expect a little bit of a drop off for Terrence Davis. But yeah, pretty straightforward there. Monk didn't practice. Sounds like he's probably out for until the All-Star break.
But also note that's like a playoff-esque rotation from Sacramento. It was not a back-to-back against Dallas, but they had played Dallas on consecutive games. Dallas had gotten the first one in Sacramento. Divisional opponents, playoff seeding implications. Sort of a little bit of a tell to me that we might see Sacramento place a lot of emphasis on this regular season and see these closer kind of playoff rotation type minutes down the stretch, because that was basically an 8-man rotation with the last role split between Chimezie Metu and Davion Mitchell. 32 minutes off the bench for Terrence Davis, obviously influenced by overtime here, but 25 for Trey Lyles. These are really, really big minutes for the starters here. So another matchup against another team in Phoenix, divisional opponent, like competing for, or maybe not divisional opponent. They're not in the same division. It's the Clippers and Mavericks.
No, they're oh yeah. The Kings and Suns are.
Oh, they are in the same division.
They're Pacific.
I'm sweating so many divisional bets on the Kings, and I felt so good going into the trade deadline, and now I'm just they're all coming for me. They're all coming for me. Yeah.
All my Warriors stuff is not looking great.
Clippers, Suns. Yeah, it's all bad. But another divisional opponent, similar seeding type situations, could expect like really tight rotations once again from Sacramento tonight. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, Mike Brown did add that they really want this game. It's the last game for them before the All-Star break, road game. He's like, we're coming in really focused, yada yada yada. He really wants the guys to win this one. So I think it's a pretty good spot. The Suns have been a little bit better defensively. They've actually been kind of crappy offensively. Certainly Booker coming up. We'll talk about him a little bit. But yeah, definitely could be really tight, especially taking Monk's usage out and replacing him with Terrence Davis, assuming Terrence Davis doesn't have that fluky monster game again.
Well, let's talk about Devin Booker. So we saw the minutes limit in the first game. We guessed 25. He played 25. I think we went up to like 28 in the second game, protecting ourselves for the chance of a big increase. He ended up coming back in with about 4 minutes left in a blowout situation, which to me tells me that they are trying to get the minutes up. They are trying their best, and they got to 26 in that game. So what do you think is an expectation for Devin Booker minutes tonight?
Yeah, we got him at 29. I think that, we're trying to cover ourselves because they've been off for a little bit. Definitely could be ramping up. Could maybe hit 33, 34 if they feel really good about it. But yeah, you mentioned he didn't sub out till 20 seconds left, and the game was quite in hand against the Pacers. So I think he's got a chance of a little bit better than a coin flip to touch 30, but not much. And then maybe they just keep him under 26 to get into the break. I think that's definitely in the card. So we're kind of covering our bases there. Matchups pretty good against probably Kevin Huerter. So it's gonna be tough. Curious to see what his tag is, because he's been pretty ball dominant when he's out there and kind of using his minutes. So, but if he's priced near 9-10K, I don't think he can go there.
we've seen with some of these guys where, Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, where they come back, the role's a little bit more limited, but in the minutes they're out there, they are getting their shots, they're getting their reps in. So could be the case again tonight. The back-to-back notes, we've got the Warriors, the Wizards, and the Blazers. All have not filed to this point. I'll give you your selection of where you'd like to start within those three teams for the back-to-backs.
Let's start with the Blazers because there were some comments from Chauncey Billups that made me think that they're not going to have Jeremy Grant. They talked about the fit between Cam Reddish and Cam Reddish giving an effort, and this time he's getting a starting lineup look. Means T. Steibel being a quote unquote specialist for them. So I feel pretty good about Steibel starting. Who played awesome, man. We had a little bit of an under unofficial, and he just nuked it. Season high 4 3-pointers. I think you'd want him out there for Bradley Beal. So I think I feel pretty good about Matisse getting the start. Cam Reddish, shout out to us, for taking an under on him. Felt really good about him having a minutes cap. He did really short rotations. Didn't shoot it well, which helped for us, but expect it to happen. Billups kind of said again that the effort hasn't been there for him, and he kind of like crapped on him a little bit. So I think Cam Reddish's minutes are going to be light again. Will probably be 21 or so again here. But yeah, Dame just flame throwing. Should expect a similar rotation. Just a side note, the hairstyles for Reddish and Watford they're kind of similar, so I feel like having a tough time trying to discern them when I'm watching those games. But anyways, yeah, should be pretty much a similar rotation, assuming we don't get a surprise on Grant coming from a concussion protocol.
Okay. Warriors, second night of back-to-back. We have not seen Klay Thompson play. Second nights of back-to-backs, typically. We've seen sometimes mass rest situations. They get a win last night. Matchup tonight is one that I would think, that they'd want in terms of trying to inch their way up the standings against the Clippers here. But it's a rested Clippers team. It's also a spot where they could maybe – say, hey, we got the win last night. Let's kind of move forward. It's also they have one more game before the break. They play the Lakers on Thursday. Actually, they do not. They play the Lakers opening from the break. So this is their last game before the break. So that makes me think that it's maybe just Klay that we see rested here, and everybody else kind of grinds through. But I also know that if you watched on Saturday, Draymond Green was mic'd up for the Lakers-Warriors game, and they had clips of him going around pregame talking to the refs being like, I'm counting down the days to the All-Star break. How many games you got left? How many games you got left? So what are your thoughts here on the Warriors? Because we've seen mass rest situations from them in the past in these spots.
Yeah, we saw that time when they had the letdown game and they were in Denver. They were kind of planning to play their guys, and didn't really go well. Draymond Green had a calf injury that he was a late scratch. So I think Draymond's got a decent chance to miss. They're trusting their depth more. We've seen Ty Jerome, really solidify that second unit. He's been quote unquote settling their second unit down, according to Steve Kerr. So could see a little bit more of him. Moody, they really liked his minutes. He was plus 11. He changed the game defensively, according to Kerr. So I think that this is a chance to take it off Klay, put Moody in there. They've been playing Moody minutes now. So I would lean Klay probably sitting. I mean, they didn't want to get another injury, right? I mean, this would be so bad. So I feel like Klay's got a decent chance to sit. I think Draymond probably more of a coin flip. They're probably both going to get the Q tags late game. So there could be some edge and kind of assuming guys out, looking at Kuminga and those guys. So we'll definitely talk more about that on the DFS show.
Yeah. And then the Wizards, they were without Kuzma last night. He was questionable during the day, went through shoot around, and then ruled out. It was the front end of a back-to-back. Perhaps that's the reason you had alluded to on the injury report show yesterday that you did not think he would play last night. Are you still leaning towards that feeling tonight with Kyle Kuzma?
Definitely like that he went through shoot around. He was kind of practicing with pain. That's alarming. So I feel better today about the back-to-back and then going through shoot around and ramping up. So he said he'll play through the pain. The last game before the All-Star break, maybe he's out there. It's not like it's going to be a aggravation.
They have one more. They have more on Thursday. So
they do?
Yeah,
they have 3 games this week. Oh, damn.
Yeah, they play at Minnesota.
Okay. So yeah, maybe they do sit him out. We'll see there. But yeah, definitely gonna be game time, like best case scenario, because he's playing through pain right now if he does play.
And then
But yeah, I
Bradley,
should note too, Beal. Yeah, Beal also
yeah.
played a ton yesterday. 35 minutes, busy. That foot thing took longer to heal. He's had both hamstrings go off on him this year, so certainly a chance he does get this game off as well.
Yeah, I wonder if they were without Beal and Kuzma, if they were just like Kristaps take the
Mm-hmm.
night off as well type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like look to Thursday as trying to get a win to close out this road trip. But that's definitely one to watch because Beal played a lot last night. Kuzma Q. Porzingis played a lot last night, 36 minutes for Porzingis last night as well. So definitely one to keep an eye on there. Okay. Any other injury notes that you have for us before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's look Clippers really quick because we just took an under that I feel really good about in Terrence Mann. There were some quotes from Ty Lue saying they kind of like him as a 3. We've seen him technically starting at the 1. He hasn't really been the 1. It's kind of been Paul George functionally and role-wise. So we're betting into uncertainty there. He left the door open that there's a starting lineup change coming, whether it's Eric Gordon, Norm Powell, maybe something else. But, I think Terrence Mann's footing is not strong. He's out of the rotation earlier this year. They've got depth now with Bones, Mason Plumlee, and all those guys. And he's generally been doesn't like to go 10. He's very comfortable with 9. So I could see Mann's minutes getting pretty severely cut. And we also got the minutes cap on Paul George and Kawhi to get them to the break again. They're playing on Thursday. So, but I think this national TV game, maybe they get closer to 33, 34, maybe 35 if it's close. But yeah, and we'll see if Zubac's minutes come down. He actually has a good backup now in Mason Plumlee. A lot of comments from Lou over the last month and a half, 2 months that Zoo is really getting worn down. They have been riding him quite a bit. So yeah, we'll see a new rotation, a lot of new pieces. You and I, we love analyzing new rotation, especially with mad scientists like Ty Lue, which could make us crazy. But excited to see what he has in store. Because I talk about this all the time, and he wants to play small. He really does. He has so many ways to do it now. With Norm stepping up, we'll see if Norm's minutes get affected, and just Bones and Gordon's. Gordon's old and he's been really good. He's ball handling. His defense has been kind of impactful for the Rockets. They're really missing a shot creation. They couldn't get good looks yesterday. They really miss Eric Gordon. So I think Gordon's going to really affect Mann in kind of a significant way today.
All right. As always, please support the people who are supporting us. This show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts from running in addition to now formats of 2023-2024 NFL best ball contest running for huge prizes. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em games. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. It's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. All right, myself and Mike will be behind the paywall at Establish the Run at 5 o'clock Eastern today. Join us there. If you are interested in any of our packages, I will note that on the DFS side, on the prop side, we will be pausing any weekly, monthly packages on the All-Star break. So there will be no time incurred on your packages. It will restart the following Thursday when games start back up again. So if you have been looking at stuff and you've been like, oh, I don't want to start up because there's this time off, it is not impacted. You will not be charged for the time off. But as always, check us out there. If you're uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we do ask for your hard-earned clicks. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, smash that like button, feed that algorithm, help us feed our families. We'll help feed you the NBA DFS injury analysis and information you need to make your DFS lineups, your prop bets, your spread bets, so on and so forth. Enjoy Valentine's Day. Enjoy the games tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Take care, everybody.